In this session, I would like to share with you a product that I made for my dad, who happened to be a very heavy-duty smoker. Go figure, right? Anyway, one of the things that smoking does, which all of us are familiar with, is it creates a lot of phlegm and mucus in the lungs. And the reason for that is that it's your body trying to protect itself from your habit. And in this case, it's the heat and the chemicals that are affecting the tissue. So the body, in its protective response, creates the phlegm and mucus. What's interesting about that from a different point of view, from a holistic point of view, is that phlegm and mucus, whenever it clogs up your lungs, starts to affect your respiratory system. In fact, any time that there is a respiratory issue, it is because the individual is going through doubt. Because your respiratory system brings in air. Air is symbolic of spirit. Why? Because where does God live? In the heavens. Therefore, air, an aspect of heaven, is symbolic of spirit. Also, oxygen in the body is essential not only for the brain. In fact, 25% of all the oxygen you inhale, your body sends to the brain, because your mind, which utilizes the brain, which controls the brain, requires spiritual food. Interesting, right? And so whenever any of my clients ever had a respiratory thing going on, I would always ask them, what's going on? What are you involved in that you feel insecure about, that you're in doubt about, that you don't believe you can handle from a position of strength? And when that kind of thinking is brought into the conversation, it certainly opens up a lot of doors for the client. I've seen so many of them have epiphanies at that time that it's like, oh wow, yeah, now I know what I'm going through. So anyway, my dad, being who he was, never had an issue. Therefore, he just continued to smoke and smoke and smoke. And it is a habit that, even though you can get to a point of being confident in yourself and handling all of your responsibilities, there's still that addictive nature that I think all of us have to some degree, and nicotine especially. Like so many of the pharmaceutical drugs, like the opioids and things of that nature, then the body becomes addicted. That's a whole other animal. At any rate, to address my dad's concerns about how to deal with the phlegm and mucus, I created two different products. One called LNG, which is predominantly an herbal combination with herbs like slippery elm. So these are the kind of things that are in there that are designed to break up the phlegm and mucus. And the beautiful thing about it is it's not an expectorant. So if you have concerns about it, about mucus and phlegm from either smoking or dairy, which also creates phlegm and mucus, it's not an expectorant. You're not going to be walking around spitting all day long. The beautiful thing about slippery elm is that it will take mucus, ball it up, and you end up urinating it out, or it'll get deposited in fecal matter. The body is a wonderful machine. It really is. It's such a divine creation. It knows how to do everything. All it requires is the nutrients to facilitate the transactions. It's really that simple. I also created, when DSHEA was passed, the Dietary Supplement Education Act, when that was passed, I created lung factors. In there, I added in calcium and magnesium for the simple reason that your lungs are driven by muscular transactions as well. So from that point of view, we want to support that as well. In addition, one of the other applications for the lung, or LNG as the case may be, is for heavy-duty dairy eaters, because what happens there, and remember, whenever you were a kid, before you got into health, and you ran to the doctor, or your parents took you to a doctor if you had a cold or a flu, one of the first things the doc said was cut out dairy. Why? Because it creates the phlegm and mucus in the intestinal tract as well as the lungs. Now, from a nutritional perspective, when it's in your intestinal tract, there are a lot of little holes in your villi that line the wall of your intestinal tract, and that's how the nutrients migrate into the bloodstream. Well, if they're clogged, guess what? You're not going to get all of the nutrients that you need out of your food and or supplements. That's why sometimes people will take a supplement back. I remember when I had a store, people would take a supplement back and say to me, this is not working. And I would say to them, do you do dairy? And they, why do you want to know? And then I would explain what I just explained to you. I've also helped miners and welders who also had concerns about respiratory functionality. And from that point of view, they too found benefit from using the LNG or lung factors. So if you're exposed to smoking, you smoke, you have concerns about phlegm and mucus in your system, because we all produce it. It is a natural byproduct of transactions in the system. And if you have concerns, like so many might, then look at LNG or lung factors as a way of addressing those concerns. I think you'll be pleased with the results that you get from just the understanding of knowing what's going on and knowing that you're addressing your concern. That in itself helps you maintain homeostasis, balance, and harmony. And on that note, I wish you a life filled with balance and harmony. Stay well, be healthy. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Take care.